This podcast is part of E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience.
David Housel described it best. We are living the whole of the Auburn experience. You can quantify it, you can qualify it through a variety of methods, time, people, places, and things. But at its heart and at its core, it is all about Auburn sports, Auburn culture, and Auburn family stuff. Since it's all about Auburn family things, we got to get those members of the Auburn family in here. I'm your host, as always, Kyle Loomis, and back with me again after 2 long weeks of having to put up with me in person, Mr. Austin Scott. Welcome back to the show, sir.
I was about to say, we are live from our houses.
Our houses. It's different, isn't it?
It is different. It's different. It's kind of weird to be back here virtually. So good to see you again. And I hope you've enjoyed time back home, even though you were home in a sense for a week or so.
It was lovely, lovely, lovely to spend so much time on the plains. I will tell you, though, there is no place like your actual home and where you reside and kind of have those comforts and things like that. Although I will tell you that now that the reality is setting in that we won't be back there for the month of October. Let's not start that rant. It's getting a little bit rough for me. It's just I'm missing the plains with each passing day. But the great thing about us not being on campus, although I'm sure people love that view of us being back there, is things are a little bit more maybe contained and controlled here. We won't have any squirrels, making us literally go squirrel all the entire time, or people walking through the background, us messing students up from studying. Let's just get this show going because it's good to be back in the saddle in studio. As always, we've got a ton of stuff to talk about in Auburn potpourri. We're going to dive into that right now. Let's start with the biggest news probably of this week, probably the most exciting news, the thing that's been most anticipated by all the recruiting junkies out there. The big question was what, Mr. Scott?
Will Deuce Knight commit?
It was. And the answer is?
He did. He did. He finally did. Everyone's very excited. I think it was this past Wednesday evening. Kind of at the drop of a hat, but
yes,
Deuce Knight and Hayes Fawcett of On3 Sports finally collaborated and put their graphic out there. And Auburn has their quarterback centerpiece of this class. It only jumped them further in the recruiting rankings. And there was, for a mere moment, a much at ease across the Auburn family. And everyone was able to celebrate something. And it was good.
I am so happy that I don't have to have that question asked to me 1,000 times on every single live stream. Folks, I always appreciate the questions, but my gosh, some of y'all ask the same question over and over and over, and you expect a different answer. Anyway, let's not get into a rant about that. The important thing here is this is very much a centerpiece. Your quarterback always is, if you're going to be taking a prominent one in that class. This is one that I feel like most agree is very much needed, not because you don't have belief in who's currently here and going to be working their way through the depth chart probably, but you want to feel like there's some good continuity there if something should not work out at the quarterback position. And this is one that everybody's excited about. I mean, you even saw in that picture, Austin, Hayes Fawcett even did it, comparisons to Cam Newton. I mean, Are we just setting this kid up for failure already?
Well, in his defense, the number 2 is what Deuce wears, and that's the number 2 will always be in line with Cam Newton at Auburn. But it's certainly lofty expectations from the visual there. Look, I mean, here's the thing. You mentioned it. You always want to bring in quarterbacks and you want to bring in high-ranked guys, regardless of what you have set up to continue that competition as much as when we will talk about them. But as much as we don't like it, I think Georgia's done a really good job of that, of just bringing in guys and seeing where the chips fall. That'll be the case with Deuce and Walker White and Hank Brown, Holden Gerner, whoever else comes in the coming year. So let's not put too much pressure on the kid. Okay. He will come next year. He will likely, in all likelihood, not be the starting quarterback next year. And that's okay. And so
that's okay.
Let's let Deuce get to the plains, enjoy himself and develop. And who knows, he might live up to that number 2.
We will certainly see. So I'm excited to have him here, and I'm excited to see what maybe his.
He's still got to get here too. Let's remember that he's still got to sign and he's still got to enroll. So let's just all remember that.
be excited about it. Excited,
and that's
for what
nothing about
even,
Deuce. That's just
that,
the recruiting world.
it's just what it is. It's just the reality of the world we live in. So be excited about him. Be excited about maybe what his commitment gets others interested in coming to Auburn. Certainly, we may be talking about that in the future. But for now, it's just so good to celebrate something good in the Auburn football space right now when the wins aren't certainly coming. Let's switch gears to baseball. It's not something we get to talk about a whole lot here. But folks, if you missed it, if you're a big fan of recruiting, you should have been a fan of this. Butch Thompson knows how to recruit as head coach of the Auburn baseball team. Once again, is pulling in a great class. Now, it's double this, right? It's one thing to go out and find a good class. It's another thing to make sure they stay in the class, meaning they don't get drafted and go into in Major League Baseball. Your Auburn Tigers, according to Baseball America, one of the fine publications out there, is ranked number 3 recruiting class. And I want you to look at this right here, Austin. Look at all these names that are on this list along with Auburn.
Goodness.
So that's the big dogs right there. This is quite an accomplishment for Butch Thompson.
It's quite a list, and much like anything with SEC baseball, Auburn's going to come in third there in the country. That's also third in the conference. But you look at the rest of that list, only 2 other teams on there are not SEC teams.
Right.
Miami and TCU, and that's the bottom half. The top 7 right there are recruiting classes. That is the kind of talent you're going to play in the SEC week in and week out. But Butch Thompson, even after a down year, has made sure that Auburn is bringing in talent. And like Kyle mentioned, the fact that a lot of these guys who Auburn's been snake bit in the past with did not go pro. It's some luck on Auburn's end to get for money slots to work out where they do, like the MLB does. Very, very intricate and strange. But also some good. Auburn is able to sell Auburn and what they've been able to prove and say, if you come here for a little while, you can still go pro. But you'll be a more well-rounded baseball player. And if under Butch Thompson, you'll certainly be a more well-rounded man. So we're looking forward to seeing how these guys do and their time on the plains. Kyle, I know this is baseball related. I'm going a little off topic here, but I know you posted some pictures of it. You also can sell some pretty good construction updates on Plainsman Park coming. So it's going to be an exciting year at Plainsman.
He's referring to, if you've gone to our social media, you'll see some videos out there, some updates to War Eagle Wall base construction is starting, some pylons, it looks like, but that main section that's already been started right there along Donahue starting to really come along. So take a look at that. So whether you're promoting that, a lot of you will worry sometimes if a program's not doing well, does that hurt recruiting? Sometimes it's pretty easy to sell. Hey, we need your help. Come on in. And we got some time. We got playing time for you. We got support for you, all that stuff. Hey, listen, no matter what it is, Butch Thompson's doing a great job of working hard to bounce back from a year that definitely a lot of us were disappointed in, no more so than them and the players. But great accomplishment for them getting that number 3 class. Let's talk about something in the pros. We like to mention our men and women that have, moved on from the Auburn family in the sense that they're, current players, but they're still always part of the Auburn family. We've mentioned her recently. She has recently had her number retired. And I will go ahead and say this, Austin, put a pin in this for another day. We need to have a conversation about her potentially and what place on certain Mount Rushmores of certain aspects of the Auburn experience. We'll get there. DeWanna Bonner officially has passed into the number 2 slot all-time WNBA postseason scoring. And folks, let me just give you some perspective on this. Number 2 all-time now. She passed Candace Parker. Most of you will know that name. Tennessee great. She is now currently nestled behind Diana Taurasi. I'll give you some more information on that about, I know where some of y'all's minds is going. Can she pass her? We'll get there. But Austin, this is incredible that we're, talking about someone that we all are very familiar with. If you were following the Auburn women's basketball program during that time, she is quite the ambassador for Auburn on the biggest stage for women's basketball. Yeah, absolutely. And it's been really cool to see her kind of come back to the Plains a little bit more in recent years, obviously for her number being retired. But I think that relationship with Johnny Harris and this staff that's been a priority, and that's pretty cool to see. That's somebody that a lot of people don't know or don't immediately correlate with Auburn. It's a shame.
And it is a shame because she is one of the best, one of the greats, and she's certainly moving her way up the lists. So I don't remember if the Sun are still in the playoffs. I think they are. I think they beat the Fever.
They are. At this moment, they are.
That's what I was thinking. I think they beat the Fever to move into the second round. Caitlin Clark in the Fever. And so I think that's exciting. And hopefully she can maybe add a championship to that list of accolades.
Let me give you some context. She is number 2 all time. I don't know that we are going to be able to get to number 1. Diana Taurasi has 1,486 points. DeWanna Bonner just made it past the 1,149 mark. So that's well over 300. She is 37 years old. Not to say that she can't play forever, but let's talk about, life and the reality of things here. I did some math in my head the other day when I was trying to think through this. I think if she kept her current clip of 15 points per game, and there's a smaller amount of postseason games for the WNBA, she would have to at least play another 3 seasons and play every game that she could possibly play in and stay at that 15 points. And she may not even still get it. I could be wrong. There's some mathematician that's already crunched the numbers. It's like, Kyle, you're wrong, but doesn't look like it's going to happen, but it doesn't take away from the significance of passing names like Candace Parker and in the same breath as Diana Taurasi.
Oh, for sure. Our friend Jesse tells us that the Sun is 2-2 in the semifinals, 1 game away from the final. So we are talking about championship here soon. And
don't blame us if after this show, after the live recording of this, we've jinxed you. I'm sorry. We're talking about what we know right now.
It's happened before, so we're sorry.
It has happened before. It's always Austin's fault, though. Just remember that.
Usually.
A little bit of scheduling news for you. Not a little bit. Big scheduling news. And I know we haven't even played a single basketball game yet officially for this 2024-25 season, but we already got news for next season. And there does seem to be kind of a pattern that's Auburn's following now. They go to Maui. They're going to go to some other places the next season, probably one of the other more premier early season tournaments for 2025. Your Auburn's going back to the Bahamas for the Battle for Atlantis. This was announced by John Rothstein. This is not an official announcement by Auburn, by any other parties involved. This is simply a report. I guess I should clarify that when I first said that. But according to expert, and I would call him an expert, John Rothstein, the Tigers are going back to battle for Atlantis with teams like Ohio State, VCU, Virginia Tech, St. Mary's. They last played in 2021. Your thoughts, Austin, on potentially going back to Atlantis?
Yeah, really cool. Love that Auburn is continually asked to come to these kind of events. You mentioned Maui. They've been to the one in Brooklyn. I will not remember the name, and the one in Charleston. Those are all the big ones that usually you see in prime time on Feast Week, I think is what they call it.
Ooh,
the unofficial start to the college basketball season. Love it. Can't wait for it. Hope Auburn gets a great slate. I'm just glad that Kyle's taking us to Maui this year, and he'll be taking us to Atlantis next year. It's going to be awesome. I've already told the boys they can't wait.
Now, listen, y'all might be going, but I certainly can't afford to take it. So maybe I can send you guys, but not all of us can go. I am certainly excited, whether we go or not, to see Auburn on these premier early season tournaments. And this is just another great, confirmation that Bruce Pearl and his staff put together some great times for the Auburn basketball fans. Final notes in Auburn Potpourri were very rapid fire. I would be remiss if I at least didn't mention these. Men's golf got announced that they will be hosting the NCAA regional for this upcoming spring season. So be looking for that. And
as they should. If you win it, you should get to host.
I mean,
I don't think that's a rule, but it should be.
At the Auburn University Club, May 12th through the 14th of 2025. So this upcoming spring, obviously that should be a rule. Gymnastics will be hosting an NCAA regional in 2028. So a long way off, but nice to know that they're coming back here. Mm-hmm. And then just not even Auburn directly related, but maybe it could be. Birmingham is getting March Madness again in 2028 for the first and second round. We know how that went last time, and Auburn and Alabama fans had to compete for tickets. Hopefully they don't do something like that again, but maybe your Tigers will be having an opportunity to go to March Madness in a local way. So that's all your Auburn Potpourri news. Let's jump into our first major topics tonight. Yes, folks, we are going to talk about the Georgia game. It is, it's a great game. It's a great rivalry. The outcomes have not been there for Auburn over the last couple of years, and there's no getting around that at this point. I think it's Austin at this point. Is it 9 in a row that they have won or something like that? I should have looked that up before we went live, but
I think that sounds right. I mean, the last one was 2005. So we're pushing 20 years.
Look at us mathing. We're mathing live on the show.
It's getting close if it's not 9. I was really surprised by the opener to the TV. broadcast, they mentioned Auburn. Well, now it's tied, but Auburn had the all-time lead of wins in Athens. But really, because Georgia had won 8 straight, it became closer. Now it's 9 straight. It's unfortunate, and it has been a long time since Auburn's won there. And the monkey will get off that back one day. That we all said that seemed impossible at LSU, and it happened. And so I think it will happen one day. We'll get into the X's and O's, but I was fairly pleased with how Auburn handled this game. No, they didn't get the outcome we all wanted, but I did not see this team intimidated or overmatched in too much in 2 areas. So, but nope, no time to take the win home from between the hedges this go round.
No, I'm glad you brought that up, because talking like just in general sense about the game,
Mm-hmm.
obviously the outcome I think most people expected. If you look at the score, it certainly seems like most people would have expected that type
Agreed.
of margin for Georgia. Some I think are, and I think it may be reflected in the rankings, we haven't seen them all yet, that they probably should have beat us by more. And that's not taking anything away from Georgia. They handle their business, all that stuff. But the reality is that, and I forget the time frame on this. At one point, Auburn's 14-10, only down 14-10. And that's an opportunity for a team that is really looking for something to light a fire under them because of the struggles they had. I would say if you're a Georgia fan and you're being reasonable, that got a little bit dicey, and that homecoming decision to name Auburn your homecoming kind of made you feel a little bit scared given all the other things that happened. I mean, you just got to, I guess, find things to anchor you when things are going crazy on a day like that. But, Auburn did their best to make this a game, just couldn't hang on to the end. Just one too many mistakes is really what it was.
It is, and it's kind of become a theme, unfortunately. It's just a lot of mistakes.
Margin for error, like this.
Margin for error is very small, and these errors that Auburn keeps self-inflicting on themselves are not helping them in any way. And I know people don't want to hear that. I know people don't want to hear that, well, the moral victory is that we were close, but that there's so many areas that look like if all the cogs just come together, this team can be something special. And you see the foundation that Hugh Freeze and the staff are trying to lay. I think it speaks volumes when you see former players talking about that, because they've been in these locker rooms, they've been in their own situations, and they know what it's supposed to look like, and they're seeing that. I thought Rob Pate, former Auburn safety from the late 90s, put it very well that this team, there are many teams that have gone into Athens looking scared when they get off the bus, outmatched and out physicaled, and this team did not look like that to him. And I think that speaks volumes. So it was unfortunate, but like you said, I'm not sure that score totally reflects how close it was. It doesn't matter. It's still a loss. I get that. But I was overall, when you take a look back and know what you were expecting going in, I'm not terribly disappointed.
Yeah, and I think you definitely saw 2 years now where an Auburn team that should have been beaten by where we assume Georgia is at as a program right now by much more. And obviously last year was a bit of a scare for them and should have been an Auburn victory in all reality if one Brock Bowers didn't go off at the last possible second. And this one, where a few other bounces were probably, maybe it's still a Georgia win, but we're talking about this thing once again down to the wire. So I think Georgia fans, if they're being truly reasonable and honest, sense the times may be kind of heading back to more competitiveness, but obviously it doesn't really matter in the results of this season. I want to give a shout out to at least, players that I think are of note. A lot of people have been calling, can we please run the ball more? Well, you probably didn't get as much as you wanted in this game, but there certainly was a concentration to get people like Jarquez Hunter the opportunity to run that dang ball. And boy, did he run that dang ball. I mean, I think this is the exact shot here from Austin Perryman, the official photographer for Auburn football, of him after the guy on the ground is him who he ran over and then ran through the rest of the blocks to run for his 30-something yard touchdown, something like that, Austin?
Yeah, something along those lines, and had a great run down the boundary with a great stiff arm like we're used to seeing Jarquez Hunter give. I think I'm with you. I think that he got more touches. I think you can give him more. And I don't think the staff is not wanting to give him more. I think it's just a matter of making sure the right looks come from it, and that the right plays get followed through with. But I think that when you see Jarquez Hunter run, he is still showing you he's one of the best backs in this league, if not the country. Right. And thankful that he continues to produce. But I think hopefully that we'll continue to see him get trusted more and more to carry the ball, because he's shown against a defense like Georgia's that he can still put up those numbers. He's worthy of more carries.
He is. And let's certainly talk about what you somewhat slightly referenced there. Obviously, there's one big mistake that everyone will obviously focus on, and that was what is, according to Coach, and I don't know if Peyton's addressed it yet or not. I haven't seen it. But his apparent decision to change the play with what he felt like he saw on 4th and 1, which was at a very crucial moment in that game, which, according to Coach, and again, some of y'all are going to choose, he's throwing people under the bus again, or he's not telling the truth, or whatever. You choose your narrative. Some of y'all just can't be, some of y'all just got issues. But the reality is the coaches, according to them, called a play. He changed it, and it was the wrong decision. If it's one of those situations, again, whether we're talking about coaches making the decision, players, if it works out, you're brilliant. You're the hero. If it doesn't work out, you're the GOAT, not the GOAT the other way, not the good GOAT.
Sure. The scapegoat.
It was a bad decision by Peyton Thorne in hindsight.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's like I don't view Hugh Freeze saying that as throwing him under the bus when the question was asked.
And he even said, after he said no, he changed the play, and that's not what we said. He said we should have not put him in that position.
You tell him to not check it. So I think there's fault on both sides. But I think that, I don't view that as Hugh Freeze throwing the guy under the bus when the question was directly asked, was that a read or was that the play called? And he says no. Well, would you like him to say yes? Because that's a lie. So I think that there's a lot of issues with how people want to perceive things and how people are perceiving things, to adjust what they want it to look like. We've already talked about that at length last week, but in the end, it was a bad decision by whoever was the ultimate call. As far as we know right now, it was Peyton Thorne's call. And I think and hope that he'll own up to that. The view that you can see is that it would have worked. If we stay with what's called and give Jarquez the ball, the replay shows the hole is open, and it's a rare O-line open.
I'm going to disagree with you a little bit. I don't think, because it was a long 4th and 1. And I'm just going to be honest that I think our offensive line is still lacking in that category of, we got to have this push against, they're coming at you. And if they don't get caught in the right slant or they get caught in the wrong slant, it's over with. So I don't know that the play works out either way, frankly. Now it's Jarquez Hunter, as you talked about. We've seen him do some crazy things. So I think the point is, and what you're, I think, ultimately saying is, let's give Jarquez the chance, and let's not do what seemingly hasn't worked in the past at pulling that in that position and trying to, make something crazy happen. Is that kind of the gist of maybe what you're saying?
Sure. I think the view I saw of the replay is that, and I'm not saying the O-line did a fantastic job because they had a horrid day. But I think that there was a hole open from what I saw. And maybe that wasn't the right play that I'm referencing, that looks like it gives you 1 to 2 yards.
Sure.
However, I total agreement. And I think that's what Hugh Freeze was ultimately getting to, is there should be no other option than Jarquez Hunter in that moment, given how he had already done in the game. We'll see what Peyton Thorne says about this week. I think he normally has some media availability.
There won't be
so we'll have
week.
to see.
They announced this week they're not going to have any. They're off this week, but hopefully we will get the opportunity to have him address that, because I also would like to hear that perspective, because he has given some perspective about what's gone through his mind at the time.
And I think with today's world, we've all brought it up, and it's been brought up by fans a lot. These players, we want to hear from them too. We want to hear them take accountability, and we want to hear them give their own voice, as much as we've only heard from coaches in past years. So I hope he gets that opportunity.
Let's give some credit, though, to some other players as we wrap up our time on this game, too. We talked about Jarquez, obviously your strong offense. Keldrick Falk.
Oh, my goodness.
My goodness, son, just have a day. I mean, we knew that we had a special kid in Keldrick Falk when he already was getting starting time as a freshman last year. And even when they moved him from edge over to defensive end because of necessity, because of depth there that we were lacking, And then he goes over there and continues to flourish. This year, he gets named as a captain in a sense. But when he represented us for SEC Media Days as a sophomore, he has quite the day. And you just saw number 15 just in the backfield all the flipping time. I mean, just whether 2 sacks, I think.
I think 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, which, I'm always like, okay, they're all tackles for loss, but well, whatever. I think that, he showed that he is a force above many of the other offensive lines and very good offensive lines you face in the SEC. And thank goodness, because Auburn needs him. Him alongside Jalen McLeod is a force to be reckoned with. And he showed it yesterday. I got really nervous when he went down, Kyle. I was very, very, very concerned. Thankfully, he just had a little jump scare, had to get checked out and came back in. But he has been a very, very bright spot. And look, we're going to keep harping on it, but Keldrick Falk is one of multiple names of youth you can point to on this Auburn team that Hugh Freeze has brought in from the high school ranks, and they are already showing you they're good. They're already showing you that they have promise and that they need to be developed. Jay Crawford, and I will not have to remember the other guy's very long name. I believe. Give it to me.
Kinsley Lindor Foston, I think is how you say something.
Long. It is a long name, but they both played very, very high minutes and very high leverage minutes for Auburn against very good Georgia receivers. And I was impressed with them. So do not, I know the quarterback isn't there what you want. I know the quarterback is the position we're all focused on. You made your point. We know, but the youth on this team is showing out.
Yeah, it is. And I just want to say this too. I think Georgia once again show why we call them a certain name with a certain play on number 15. Just trust me. We're keeping tabs. I think I forget who to attribute it to. You better get us while we're down, because we ain't gonna be down for long. So get your licks in while you want it. Go ahead and be the way we always characterize Georgia. But we coming.
I think that was Dion.
I think that's. Did I just quote Dion?
I think you just quoted Deion Sanders.
Man, that's got it. We got it in the show now. Final note, obviously special teams wise, we did have a field goal blocked. It's another one of those situations you put Towns McGoo in really tough situation. Big ask for that young of a guy to be making that on that stage. And he does, as a former kicker, have to put it at a lower trajectory. If you block a little bit better, he still probably gets that off. Does he make it? We don't know. He does make 2 other field goals, which scores more points than we typically do in UGA the past couple of times that we're there. So we got to thank him for that. Again, whether we're talking about offense, defense, special teams, coaching decisions, player decisions, there was definitely some bad there. But I think without trying to Pollyanna in this and be, if you want to call us sunshine bumpers, fine. I don't see how it's the weirdest insult that you can ever give, because never mind. I'm going down a rant. I don't know.
There he goes.
The point is there was some movement in the right direction in this game. And at this point in this season, that's about all you can ask for in reality.
Absolutely.
But as it stands, 31-13, the Georgia Bulldogs get us again. But get us while you can, because it ain't going to be long till we'll be getting you back. Let's take it away from the sports realm for a little bit here. This is a topic that Austin and I have been wanting to do for the last couple of weeks. Because I did this particular event several weeks ago back at the Arkansas game. And not that I needed to go to this in the sense that I'm very familiar with birds of prey, war eagles, because as a former zoologist with a zoology degree from Auburn with a specialty in birds and other variety of bird-related topics, I was once a volunteer at said Raptor Center back in my day when I had a better hairline. But I did need to go to this because it's been a while, and they weren't doing this way back then. What I'm referring to is the Auburn Raptor Center puts on what is called, and I'm going to butcher the name. I'm so sorry.
You got it.
I should have memorized this. Feathers, football, and fans. Do I got it?
I think, you got it. Football, fans, and feathers.
I messed it up. So please forgive me, Raptor Center. Don't take away my bird friend card for messing the name up. I don't know. I was trying to think of something better sounding than that. But what we have here is the Did I have it again? Football, feathers, and fans.
Nope.
Oh,
Football, fans, and feathers.
Triple F event before every single home game, barring weather, other situations, things like that. This is an opportunity for you, the Auburn family, to come in and see not just some war eagles, but also the variety of other birds of prey that they're working with in this capacity. And I will say most of them are birds of prey, and I believe everyone that we saw that day was. I'm trying to not make my animal friends mad by like saying, I'm using a lot of generic terms. I'm dancing around a lot of things. I'm trying to inform. I'm also trying not to like not use the correct terminology. Oh, what a dance for me. But what you saw earlier in that shot was a look at the amphitheater that sits outside of what would be traditionally the Raptor main facility before you get further into that. And it's a beautiful little spot there for you to go and look. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Austin, you did this a long time ago, probably back when it first started where it is currently now. Am I correct on this?
Yes, it was in college. Emily and I went, and it was in that amphitheater that they still do it in. But it has been a while, and obviously we've had new birds and new friends come through. So it has been a while. But I think we're going to take the boys maybe a little later this year. But yes. I'd love to hear from you on kind of what all it is for those who've never been, who don't even know it exists. What all do you get to see? About how long? Give us the overview if you don't get too zoologists on us.
That's who zoologist. Yeah, I'll try to keep that in check. Now, I got the Auburn hat on, not the zoologist hat. Believe it or not, I do have a zoologist hat downstairs.
I fully believe it.
That I should have put on, but it would be an Auburn one. Anyway, so it is, if you don't know where the Raptor Center is, you can find it on a map. It's not that hidden, but they don't really broadcast where it is. Basically right off Sugar Jordan Parkway.
I noticed they did add a little banner
they did
this year, which is helpful.
And which is funny because when I was there, you literally would pass this dirt road and miss it. But now, obviously, making it more prominent, which I think has really helped with their support level, all that stuff. You go down this road, and then before you get to the main facility, on your left will be a parking lot, and right off further to that left is the main amphitheater, which is very nice with some trees and stuff like that. Obviously, free parking. You got $10 to get into this show for 1 hour. Now, I was a little skeptical about an hour-long bird show. And what all are they bringing out? What are we going to be doing? Is it, going to captivate? Not because of I don't have belief in my friends. I am really dancing around here.
You're towing the line.
But I just was like, that's a long show, would keep people's attention. And it does. And this is I'm biased because of my experience in this field, but I had a great time. And folks, $10, that's cheap. And you're supporting the Auburn. You're literally keeping the eagle war eagle. If you want to support Auburn University and Auburn Raptor Center, this is a great way to do that. So $10 gets you in the door, 1 hour show. You get to see all kinds of birds from different sizes, shapes, owls, vultures, eagles, hawks. I'm trying to think if there was anything else extra special there. I'm blanking.
So the Auburn Raptor Center does not just have the eagles you see flying on game day.
Yes. It is actually two parts. And this, I'm speaking obviously from my knowledge back then. I believe they would still define it this way: their education side and their rehabilitation side. I was on the rehabilitation side, which is their goal is to rehabilitate and release back to the wild, a conservation project. But then you also have the education side, which are birds, which you will see in this particular show, and our eagles, obviously, that fly, that can no longer fly in that way or are not fit enough to be released back into the wild. They've made an assessment as scientists that this would not be a successful release. So thus they can be ambassadors for everybody else. And so you get to see, I'm talking up close. If I had been better prepared, I have a video, Austin, and maybe I can put it back in the replay or something like that. Literally, and I had no clue where to stand or anything like that. Plenty of seating, but I chose to stand so I could get better footage. There's a hawk that literally comes right over me. And I think it was one of the shots that we put up here. It literally clipped me on my head as I came by. Now, most times that's not going to happen, folks. I think I had positioned myself in such a way that made it a little bit confusing for the bird. And I think most people were shocked that I didn't panic when it did clip me with its wing. It feels literally like a feather.
Yes.
But all in all, you'll get up close and personal, plenty opportunities after the hour show to go up and take pictures with the birds, obviously at a safe, positioning and
Yes, thank
distance and
goodness.
things like that. But I mean, there had to have been 10 different birds in the show, and I believe more brought out for picture times. I could be wrong on that, but
so when you say 10 birds in the show, like that, like they fly from a
good
certain
question.
area?
Yes.
Or...
So you'll have some that fly from the top of a deck, which I was just describing. You'll have some that just come out on gloves, and I'm going to call them tethers because that's what most people with jesses. Instead, I'm not going to try not to zoology y'all, or bird y'all. But essentially, yes, you'll have different things that they will do. Some will fly from station to station. Some will actually be on a tether of sorts, so that because they're not fully trusted yet to not fly off. And others are just come out like some of our former war eagles just for show. I know a lot of you are familiar with Spirit, but you will remember this fine, beautiful bird if you're watching live as Miss Nova, Nova, just in general. That used to be one of our war eagles flying in the stadium, but has since retired. So, yeah, I mean, if you miss seeing some of your old favorites, some of them are still around and able to come out to these educational events. So this is a good opportunity to do that. Do you miss seeing Nova out there?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that the gold, we've talked about this before. The Golden Eagles are some of my favorites. I am not in any way anti the bald eagles and Spirit or Independence. Not Spirit, just Independence is the bald one, right? Help me.
Spirit is the bald one, and
okay.
Independence is the bald one. Spirit is our retired. So we have essentially you have a current and a retired bald and golden. Again, there's others as well, but those are the main 4 there.
Great. So I think that's pretty cool. I have a healthy fear of birds. I don't love to be that close. So the fact that you tell me I can take safe distances sounds excellent to me. I will not be standing in any way when I go to the Football Fans and Feathers show. I will be sitting at a safe distance. So that's pretty cool. What was your favorite bird that is not one of the eagles that you got to see? I think that doesn't count. That's cheating.
It's also cheating for me because I am so spoiled with my experience working with even beyond Raptors birds as well. I would say it's always, for some reason, fun to see the little screech owls because I think people just are surprised how tiny they are. For me, I guess it's more about what are people's reactions when these particular birds come out and they want to see them. Owls are always a fan favorite.
Sure.
To me, I always love watching the relationships that are built between the birds and the trainers and stuff. And so it really, that can play into it as well. I'll kind of just go with what I first said, the little screech owls, just because I'm spoiled in some sense. And that's not one that I got to see a ton post my time volunteering with the Auburn Raptor Center. That was my first experience, actually. And you probably heard them out in Alabama, especially out and around and stuff like that. You'll never know, is these little tiny things can make such a loud noise. I mean, that's why they get the name screech owl. Since you have children, a couple other things to keep in mind. There is amphitheater style seating, bleacher seating as well. In terms of times to go, obviously you don't want to rush. I think you can. I mean, I could have this wrong, actually. I can't remember if you can pre-purchase your tickets, but I paid when I went right up there pretty easily. $10. They do have concessions. They do have some educational stuff out there if you want to learn a little bit more about what they do outside of what they're doing in the show. The amphitheater style seating, there's some grassy areas where you can set up. I will tell you, especially if you're going in warmer months, the time that they're doing it, which I think is typically 4 p.m., let's call it mid to late afternoon, that sun is coming directly into the most of the amphitheater. So keep that in mind about staying cool, which space you want to sit, because there is some shaded areas, how the shadows cast and all that. Just some pro tips to keep in mind. Parking's pretty easy and decent. Is there anything else that
And
you
this-
as a person?
This is only Friday before home games, right? So
only Friday.
No October shows. The next chance you get is November 1st, right?
Yeah, that's as far as I know. That schedule has not changed outside of the home games on Friday before that you'll get to go and take part in having some feathers.
Pretty
football
cool.
Fans on. Yeah, it's a good time. I think it's becoming more prominent. Especially, it was a big crowd. That picture we showed earlier was the Arkansas game, and that was the first SEC weekend. So a lot of people were excited about that. The weather was warm, but it was still decent. So I think that brought more people out too.
Sure.
So this isn't something that you're going to go to and it's going to be like nobody there. This is becoming more and more popular. So you definitely want to come out and see that. I'll ask you the question, Austin. If you had the opportunity to, with a glove on, to hold one of the Eagles, would you do it? Not to
One of the Eagles? Like the Eagles?
The Eagles.
I would be terrified and would pee my pants, but I would not miss that opportunity.
You would? Okay.
I would make sure that I do it. My wife would make sure that I do it, and I would get my picture and calmly then give him or her back to their person quickly. But I would definitely do it if given the opportunity.
I will tell you, it is best to stay calm. And
I would try my hardest. I go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I
was going to say, I think it was heyday my sophomore year. This sounds like I'm about to tell you a very traumatic experience, but it's not. It was heyday sophomore year, and they had brought probably Nova out to the green space, and we've talked about heyday, but there's all sorts of fun things they just do because it's heyday, and there were plenty of people getting pictures, and the trainer, I think his name is Andrew. He's the kind of more prominent one.
Different title, around. But yes, you got the gist of it. Yeah.
I should have known you'd correct me on the title.
Yeah, I'm trying my best to be on my good behavior here, not correct.
Andrew had Nova, and he was very, very nice, but very sternly said, if you want a picture, please be on this side of me where Nova is on this side. Well, Emily just walks up there and stands right next to Nova. And I was like, what are you doing? And I grab her and we take a picture normally. But that instant was the first kind of moment where I was like, I might have an issue with these. And then to bring it full circle here with you on this show, it was at Disney World one time where a bird got very close to me, and I panicked a little more than I normally would. That I realized I have a very strange fear of flying birds.
Folks, you have nothing to fear.
It'll be great though. I'm going to go to the show. It's going to be awesome. My kids are going to go do 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 the whole time because that's what they say to birds when they see birds. They go do 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 do. And so we're going to have to sit all the way on the side because some poor person is going to really be trying to enjoy the bird show, and they're going to hear do 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 the entire hour. But it'll be great. I look forward to going again, and I promise you that I will behave myself and not cry, and I will report back when I go.
Final story for you, and just kind of putting things in perspective about just the coolness, the why I got into the field in the first place. I had the opportunity, and maybe I shouldn't share the story, but I'm going to. Hopefully, this doesn't get me in trouble. When I was a volunteer at the Montgomery Zoo, you have to do a lot of volunteering in the zoology field to kind of pay your dues and stuff like that. One of the siblings of, I believe it was Nova. It may have been Tiger, actually. Probably was Tiger, the golden eagle before, several of the golden eagles before. The sibling was there as one of our education birds. And the story goes that she hated men. And I've seen what she's done to men before. Dear. And I witnessed it happen. I was one of the few men at that time that was able to get her up on the glove. Try to maintain every bit of, I know how I'm supposed to present this, be under control, all these things, but just knowing what she is capable of.
Oh dear.
They certainly have the ability to do some damage, but folks, just respect them, respect their space, follow the instructions of the Auburn Raptor Center employees.
That's how God made them.
Exactly.
God made them to be able to do certain things, and that they
do it
for whatever reason not able to do while they're at the Raptor Center. But those folks do a great job of hopefully helping them get back to that point. But
that moment will always stick in my mind. It's like I'm kind of but not all also holding a war eagle, because you have to work your way up to be able to
I
be in the
bet.
education side of things. And I didn't have the time to commit to doing that stuff. I worked on the rehabilitation side, which was great. Anyway, we're getting into more about my times there than what this was the focus on of the event that you should all
One
be
day
going
we'll have
to.
to go into that. I think that'd be really entertaining to listen to.
It would be very, very well. I have some clips I'll be putting together on our YouTube channel as a sort of kind of small video. I don't know when that'll be up, hopefully soon, maybe even this week of this episode. So be looking for that if you're interested in some more information, perspectives, all that things. Highly, and I know I'm biased, but highly recommend that you go see this event, that you go support the Auburn Raptor Center, because, folks, we have the greatest tradition in college sports, of an eagle circling the stadium to 88, not 87, 88,000 fans, all screaming the exact same thing. So check it out if you got some time when you're in Auburn. That's going to do it for episode 96 of the Auburn Experience podcast. Had a lot that we discussed today and had a great time being back in studio. Separate places, but in studio in our traditional sense with Austin. If you want to keep up with me, do so on X at Kyle Loomis 24. Where can they find you?
Yeah, at Austin G. Scott, X, Instagram, what have you. So looking forward to seeing you again, Kyle. And I do miss your company on the show. So I'm glad that we were virtual companions tonight.
But it'll take some getting used to not sitting right next to you and awkwardly watching the squirrels run by from campus. That was a lot of fun, but I'm sure we'll do it again sometime in the near future. Thank you all for listening and watching. Until we talk to you again. War Eagle.
War Eagle.